everyone, and welcome to Vocal Revolution, where we talk about the power of voice to change our world personally and collectively. And you're in for an absolute treat today because my special guest today is Mike King. I've been honored to work with Mike for a number of years and on various projects, and it's just a delight to have him here today. Mike is one of the UK's leading vocal coaches and choir leaders. He has a unique approach to sharing his passion for music, which has inspired and touched the hearts of thousands. He's worked on The Voice UK, he's arranged pieces for BBC Radio, and collaborated with international artists such as Angelique Kidjo, Florence the Machine, BoyGeorge, and Lily Allen. He founded his vocal group, the Mike King Collective, his community choir, the MyCool Singers, his charity, the MyCool Music Foundation, and a singing holiday company, which runs singing vacations in Barbados, UK, Spain, and New York City. And so welcome, Mike. Thank you so much for joining us today. It's going to be wonderful to hear all about your experience and how music makes a difference in the world.
It's a pleasure. Thank you. Nice to be here.
Fantastic. Thank you. Tell us a little bit about
that was some introduction though. I was almost a little bit shy about it. Anyway, carry on.
And it's funny when you hear your own accolades read back.
It's a little bit weird. Yeah, exactly. But still, thank you for that anyway. You should introduce me all the time.
Yeah, I'll be your MC.
Yeah.
But you have had an astonishing life in music, haven't you? It has been an amazing life. So tell us how did it start? How did you get into music? What lit that passion for you?
Yeah, I've been very blessed to be able to make a career and a life doing music. So yeah, I'm very grateful for that. I started playing piano when I was 7, and that was the first time I really got into music. My parents gave both me and my brother piano lessons. And I grew up in church, so I grew up singing in the church choir from about the same kind of age, really. So it was from quite a young age that I was both playing and singing. And then as I got a bit older, I started to play a bit of guitar, and then began writing and singing my own songs and into my teens, and it kind of grew from there, really. Yeah.
Fantastic. And how did it become professional for you from having that passion as a child and a young person? When did it start?
Well, I remember that I mean, back in the day, we're talking about the kind of early 90s now, kind of to have a career in music was not really the done thing. Parents and so on were kind of wanting their kids to become doctors and lawyers or whatever, or get a proper job, yeah, I remember, I did a lot of music at school. So I was very, very fortunate. In fact, I remember writing songs and directing a whole year group of 250 kids at the age of 16. So I was already writing some songs and doing a lot of that in my kind of mid to late teens. But I had a record deal when I was 17. I basically answered an ad in the newspaper, as you did back then. There was no phones or Instagram. And it was from Apple Music, not Apple Computers. It was Apple as in the publishing company for the Beatles. And they had some writers that they were wanting artists to sing the songs for. And so I applied and auditioned, and then I got the job and had a record deal with them for about 18 months. I left in the end, but it was a great experience for me. And that was the age of 17. So I was 17 years old when it happened.
Wow.
And it meant every weekend after school, I was in the studio, I was recording, I was in that environment. So really, that really helped shape me, I suppose, as an artist, and getting that experience so young in the studio and working, photo shoots and all that kind of stuff. So it was quite an eye-opener for me. Yeah.
Imagine, and you were just kind of straight in there, basically, just totally immersed in it.
Straight in there. My parents would come along most of the time to the studio when I was surrounded by producers and musicians. It was kind of like a baptism of fire, really, but it was a great experience for me. Ultimately, I wasn't kind of feeling the stuff, if I wanted to kind of the songs and the direction they were wanting to push me in, the kind of image and so on. And so after about, as I said, about 18 months, I decided that I wanted to go to music college and study more, and it wasn't really for me. So I asked to leave, and we had a meeting, and in the end, the contract was kind of tore up, and I went on my way to London. But it was still a great experience. Yeah.
Yeah. And so then you were forging your own path, finding your way. So what happened after that?
So after that, I went to the Academy of Contemporary Music in Guildford. So I left Bristol, left home, and I was there studying vocals. And then and at the time, there were not many of those kind of colleges where it was contemporary music. It was, it was maybe two max, maybe. And so a lot of the big record companies would come down to our college to look for singers, guitarists, bands, artists, whatever. So during that time, I got a lot of work doing session work in London, back in vocaling, working in the studio, session work, fronting bands, massive, massive amount of experience then during that time. Um, and I was spending more and more time in London. So yes, when I left there, I then moved to London and I was still wanting to study. I was still interested in studying technique and still wanted to get more experience and work with more singers and so on. So I then went to Goldsmiths College in New Cross, and I enrolled in what was essentially an evening class. So by day, I was rehearsing with bands, I was doing sessions and so on. In the evening, I'd just go and train and be at Goldsmiths. And then through a series of events, I ended up taking over the class about 6 months into my being a student at Goldsmiths. And then I was then at Goldsmiths teaching, lecturing and singing for, I think it's about 12 years, from 2001, I think, to 2012, 2013. And yeah, so that really enabled me to start actually making decent money and making a career doing music. And slowly over the course of that 10 years, because I was still doing a lot of my own music at that point, still doing session work, but also a lot of my own music. I had a band. We used to do gigs in London, and I was making albums. I spent a few years to and from New York in the early 2000s. Nearly got signed there when I was about 23, but it didn't work out in the end. Um, so I was doing a lot of my own stuff as well as working at Goldsmiths. But slowly, through the course of that 12 years, the kind of the balance between me doing my own music and coaching and directing and arranging kind of shifted. So by the time, the late, maybe like 2008, 2010, by that kind of time, I was doing a lot more coaching, a lot more directing, arranging. And that's kind of how my career then kind of went. I think it comes to a point when you kind of grow up and you kind of buy a flat and you to pay a mortgage and you realize, hang on a minute, I'm making more money teaching and arranging and that kind of stuff than I am lugging gear around doing gigs for 40 quid or whatever. So I suppose it was more a financial decision, I suppose. But at the same time, I loved coaching and teaching. And that almost kind of became my performing as well. It's like when you're coaching a choir of 100 people, you're kind of still performing, you're still being you're still in that kind of spotlight and having to perform and sing parts and play piano and do your thing. So you still have an audience. The choir are essentially your audience, aren't they? So you're trying to inspire them and encourage them. And so it wasn't that different, I suppose. But yeah, that's how my career then shifted over the course of those 12 years.
And you met some formative people as well at Goldsmiths, didn't you? That then kind of also altered your trajectory in terms of your own choirs and how you set those up at Goldsmiths.
Oh good gosh, Goldsmiths made who I am, I suppose, in terms of my life. It's where I met a lot of very important people, of which I'm still friends with now. In MKC, you've got the likes of Darl and Kat, and I've known Luke. I've known them since I was like 21. I was literally 21 when I started teaching the Goldsmiths. So I've known them for 24 years.
Yeah. So
Uh,
being
and
members of your course, aren't they, that then became in your collective?
Exactly. And listen, singing is one of those things where you form special relationships with people, often lifelong relationships, friendships that are kind of on a very deeper level because music is so it's kind of all encompassing, I suppose. You're sharing part of yourself with each other. And so yeah, the students that I met, 'cause they were effectively students of mine, but we became very, very good friends. And from that, I created this quite a big community of singers, and as you say, some of which I've now known for 24 years, and I still in MKC, and we still sing, and we, now have families or elderly parents, and we're still kind of we're kind of lifing together. Kind of we're no longer in our 20s and 30s anymore. We're a little bit older than that, so it's nice. We've all kind of grown up together, and still in touch. Yeah. So that was the start of me building that community of singers.
Yeah, and you've touched there on a number of things. First thing I wanted to ask you actually before we move on to some of those things, but do you miss making your own music? Does that and performing just yourself, or do you feel that that's completely happily absorbed into what you do now because you've described that as a performance?
Yeah, I think the way that I think the way that most directors maybe work, but certainly for me, I'm very informal. I'm very interactive. I'm kind of quite full on in terms of my directing. So it is, for me, it's like a performance, definitely, and I get a lot of satisfaction from that and feedback from my choir. So as I say, it's like doing a performance every rehearsal. Um, but yeah, I think I do, and I think in the back of my head, I have plans that maybe at some point I would do more of my own stuff again. I think it would be quite easy for me to do, in the sense of I'd have a relatively large market there that I could sell to, of this community that I built. So there is a kind of thought in my head that I would love to do that, and I've kind of spoken to a few people about maybe next year or the year after putting together a collection of songs. But the other day, I was playing loads of my old songs and singing them and trying to remember them and grabbing sheets of music and going through files. It's actually quite fun. I thought, God, I remember writing that when I was 24, or when I was here, when I was there. So yeah, I do miss that. And I recently, not recently at all, it's like during COVID, wrote a song for my daughter. And I've still not finished the thing. I mean, I've finished it, but I've still not finished recording it. So like, I need to get my acting gear if I'm going to do something. But yeah, there is still that desire there. I also collaborate a lot with artists. So I'm always writing with artists and producing songs. So that kind of creative um, part of my work is still very much there. Um, but it's been a while since probably that song for Akita that I've actually sat down and actually written a song myself.
Yeah.
So yeah, maybe, but it's like, it's very, very busy. You're constantly trying to do as much as you can. There's lots of projects happening. You still need to earn money. It still is a business. We still need to survive. So we need to take the work where it is. As you say, I'm doing holidays. I'm doing different choirs. All these things are a way of me being able to forge a career, essentially make a living from music. So the kind of releasing my own stuff would be, yeah, kind of not as important, but definitely still there. Sure.
Oh well, I'm looking forward to that, and I
I'm
will.
sure you'll hold me to it as well. I'm sure you
I'm
will hold me to
going
it.
to. You know what I'm like.
Yeah, yeah, exactly. And I appreciate that, and I appreciate that for sure.
Yeah, well, because I'm just aware as well as artists, it's that getting that balance between our self-expression and supporting the expression of others. And of course, they're not separate, they go together. You're an incredibly expressive director, and your arrangements are beautiful and absolutely gorgeous to hear. And so, of course, all of your musical talent flows through all of that. But it's also slightly different to actually standing up and sharing your own work, isn't it? And that's what, I've certainly played in and out of that myself throughout over years. And it's just honoring both in whatever way is right at the time, and as you say, paying the bills as well.
Yeah, yeah, exactly. But
Yeah.
yeah, I think yeah, watch the space. Maybe the next year, 18 months, maybe I'll do a gig somewhere, and yeah, we'll see what happens.
Oh well, we'll all be there. We'll all be there. And you also touched on, the power of music to make these really deep relationships that you've had, these lifelong collaborations, and also that speaking to that, because I know you're really passionate about that the difference that music can make in people's lives, and that's one of the reasons you set up your charity.
Yeah.
So do you want to say a little bit more about that? Because I'm sure you must have seen so many wonderful things happen because of music.
I mean, yeah, I mean, I don't really know where to start. I mean, obviously, we're not mentioning names, but I've had people come to my studio, having suffered great loss, personal loss in their lives, and for the first few sessions, we didn't do much singing. It was just talking. And these are people that I didn't know. These are people that came to me um, and found me and wanted to do singing, and or heard about me from friends. Um, and and they'd maybe sing a line or two and just be in floods of tears, and trying to choose a song. Do you choose a happy song? But I'm not really feeling happy. I don't want to go. I don't want to sing. And be all jolly. At the same time, singing a sad song just brings out the emotions I'm feeling. So it's hard to find, songs to sing, and different songs bring up different emotions. And yeah, but then you watch them slowly find their feet. You kind of watch them slowly feel more confident and be able to express themselves, and still working through the emotions of life, but yeah, they find their voice. And I've watched that numerous times, both singing, in terms of vocal coaching on a one-to-one, in terms of my singing holidays. You'd be surprised how so many people who come on holidays have suffered either ill health or great loss. And it's a real bonding. I mean, when I step out of the villa or what have you, they're left there. They will talk amongst themselves, and often you find people are, have gone through a lot, as we all have, I suppose, in life. We all go through a lot. We don't really necessarily realize it. Um, and I know the holidays have certainly helped people, and the foundation as well. I originally set up the foundation. I think this is kind of quite commonly known, but I used to work in a secondary school as a musician in residence. Really, I was kind of working with the kids there in terms of the choirs, but also I built a studio and have the kids come in. We'd write songs, and we would, produce tracks and so on. And I had one girl come who was from Barbados, and she had an awful story that I knew about through the press here, but she had no idea that I knew her story. And she came from Barbados and happened to come to the school I was teaching. It was like a miracle, really. So I knew of her. And she wanted to have some singing lessons. So I was like, yeah, hi. And she knew that I knew Barbados very well, but I never, as I say, disclosed that I knew her story or anything about her. And she wanted to write songs, and her songs were just so, oh my God, they were hard. They were, oh my God, her lyrics, and she was telling her story through her songs. And I really found it hard to compose myself sometimes, because I obviously knew exactly what she was singing about, but couldn't let on. Um, but the light in her eyes when we were recording and producing songs, and and she would sing them, and we'd add strings and drums and all the rest of it, and we produced these tracks, and it was her voice, and I had to watch this girl just blossom and release this kind of release her story, her voice, and feel empowered and feel that she was able to tell her story and express herself was unbelievable. And that was really the catalyst for me deciding I need to do more of this. And then I worked then with the Ashton Jazz Academy, which is an amazing organization based in South London, set up by a lady, I believe her name is Trisha, whose daughter committed suicide at the age of 14, and from being bullied at school. And so she then set up a charity that mentors young girls and young ladies, kind of teenage years up to kind of maybe 18, 21. And I did then some work with her through the foundation, which was essentially having girls come to my studio and we'd write songs, and they would rap or they would sing and they would tell their story. You had girls who were in care, you had girls who'd all sorts of things, who were being helped by the Ashton Jazz Academy, and I just kind of was there to help them have a voice and express themselves and tell their story. And you see these girls kind of coming in with a bit of bravado, but really they're shy. And then when they tell them to do something, they kind of retreat into themselves. But by the end, they're flourishing. They're loving it. They're hearing themselves back, and they're hearing their voice. And it's not only their voice in terms of the kind of physical sense, but it's their voice in terms of the words and the way that they're able to tell people and let their story out, you know. So yeah, amazing, definitely.
Amazing work. And yeah, and what, that whole phrase, having a voice, it's a lot, isn't it? There's a lot to that. It's a lot of layers. It's not just, as you say, being able to physically make sound. There's a lot more going on, isn't there? There's emotional things. There's so many different aspects to it. How do you see that?
Well, exactly that. Yeah, we often think the voice is just the physical sound we make, but it's not. It's giving people a chance to express themselves. It's giving people a chance to, um, yeah, tell their story, um, and be in a place where they feel comfortable enough to be able to do that, and where that story is going to be listened and and um, and that voice, that physical voice, is also going to be nurtured. You know, Um, and then the more confident one gets with the physical voice, the more they're able to express themselves when they sing and when they make music, and their story becomes even more real and alive. Um, so yes, as I say, I've seen that happen, gosh, so many times. And even in choirs, you know, you may have somebody who, you know, they're not necessarily standing out, they're not singing on their own, they're not writing songs, you know, they are just part of a group, just, you know, almost unseen amongst the crowd. Yet for them to be able to sing, and be part of that environment, and especially for the kind of songs that we tend to choose, which are inspirational, they are motivational, they're positive, you know, we talk about soul music, but you know, soul can also be just having that, you know, that expression and that emotion in your singing. So kind of for them to be part of that and hear the harmonies. And a simple melody is beautiful, but when you start to add harmonies and layers to it, it's suddenly things come alive. And to hear that and be part of that, for some people, that also in itself is extremely empowering. Um, even for me, I can be directing and I can get pretty emotional when I hear things coming back at me. I think, wow, my God, that's amazing. So um, yeah, it's not just about people being on their own, solo singing, writing songs. It's also about people being part of that collective. And I kind of use the kind of term family a lot when I'm singing, because it is essentially a musical family. It is, you are giving of yourself and you're sharing, you're nurturing, which is what families do. You're supporting, you're encouraging, um, and yeah, allowing people to kind of be themselves and express themselves. Um, so yeah.
Fantastic. And so out of all of that understanding came your foundation. And tell us about the kind of projects that you've supported with the foundation.
The tagline is that we make a positive difference, to individuals and communities through music. So that can be, essentially singing, a lot of it's singing and songwriting, but it can also be theatre groups. It can also be people learning to play piano, drums, guitar. We fund a lot of projects. So, for instance, we've have funded things like choirs for people with Parkinson's, or with COPD. We have organized songwriting sessions for people in hospices, who are at the end of their life and wanting to, again, tell their story and tell loved ones how they feel, or, again, have a voice. Often it is easier sometimes to write a song or tell a stranger and get them to put it, you know, to music or what have you, than it is to actually have these conversations with,
Yeah.
with their loved ones. We have supported musical theatre groups for children with severe disabilities. We have, well, as you know, we've kind of organised songwriting sessions for carers. We've supported refugees who maybe want to learn an instrument or want to sing. We had an asylum seeker who was a great guitarist and wanted to be able to continue that and have lessons. So we organised for him to have lessons with a guitar teacher in London. A whole host of things.
Yeah.
Um, and as I said, we also run projects ourselves, essentially community singing for free for people to come along and just have a good time and sing, or essentially songwriting workshops, different organisations. cancer centres, refugee centres. And we also run songwriting sessions specifically for certain groups of people. So it may be those suffering with bereavement, for instance. It could be cancer patients. It could be the homeless.
Yeah.
You know, so we can organise those as well. And it's been going for about 6, 7 years. And we're a small charity, you know, but we certainly have made, I think, a big difference to communities and people's lives. Whether, as I say, funding projects or creating our own initiatives.
It's really inspiring. It's really inspiring, the range and breadth of, what you've delivered, both personally one-to-one in your one-to-one sessions and choirs, and then again, the ripple out effect of that through the foundation, supporting other projects out there and working in specific communities. And, thank you, because yes, and the foundation did fund a program for me to run a songwriting session with some carers that I worked with, a carers choir in Croydon. And again, for them to, for them, it was just they'd never done anything like that. And for people to say, well, this is your voice. What do you want to say about caring? What would your message be to the world? And their message was, keep going. That's what they wanted to say, keep going. Even though it's so hard being a carer and they have to fight for everything. They just wanted to share that encouragement with other carers and other people in the world. So, that's just one example of many of the projects you've supported. So it's really lovely that you're going to be coming with the foundation and with MCS this year to Winter Sparkle. It's fantastic that we're going to be supporting you, and we hope very much that people will come along and donate generously to support your work to continue.
I mean,
And
and again, this isn't just me, by the way. You know, I have a great team of trustees who put a lot of work. I mean, even just setting up the foundation and then getting charity status was just beyond me. You know, it was the forms and the applications and the the policies and processes. You know, I've got a great team behind me. Chris Carter, Cal Ashfield, Tracy, Carol. There's a lot of people who put a lot of work in behind the scenes. Even when we get applications through, to sift through applications, to try and be as fair as we can be, to reply to everybody. And my whole community, so the whole kind of MyCool community, especially MyCool Singers, are also very much invested in that. You know, we're all going to an Alzheimer's group in a few weeks' time to just sing for them one morning, as part of the foundation, just to put on a little show for 30 minutes. They're going to rock up, under the umbrella of the foundation for free. There's no money involved. So a lot of the community are really behind and support and donate as you do, towards the foundation. So it's not just me by no means. It really is a community effort, and that's why it's so successful, really, I think.
yeah, and I think that's one of your great gifts, is to create that feeling of family and support around the work, and make people feel that they're welcome wherever they are in their musical journey, wherever they are in their voice, but that they're welcome, that they can feel encouraged and met and included. And I think it's a beautiful gift that you have for really including people. And it's wonderful to see, just, yeah, as I say, all the projects that you are bringing together. Is there anything you would like to flag up that's coming up for you? Because I know you have it's coming up Christmas, you have quite a few gigs and things coming up.
It is. I'm flying. I'm in Barbados now. I'm flying back tomorrow, actually, to London for 5 weeks. So I'm going to be. We have. I mean, sadly, a lot of things are now sold out. I've got an open mic on the 16th of November. That's at Piano Smithfield. I believe that could be. I know the singer tickets sell out very quick, but I believe the audience tickets have also sold out. For anybody who is wanting to get up there and sing and get some experience, sing with a band in a very supportive environment, that is a great place to start. We have, people on, as you said, a full spectrum of the musical journey. We've had the likes of Lola Young come down and do that a few years ago, and we know Lola Young is a massive international superstar. And we've also got people who are literally grabbing the microphone for the very, very first time. It doesn't matter. So if you want to come and sing with a band and be in a supportive environment, check out my open mic. I think the next one is going to be on the 1st, I think, of February. So I do about 4 times a year. But I think the one this month is sold out, sadly. MKC got a gig at Peaks Express on the 23rd, also sold out. We have, of course, we have Winter Sparkle, which I can't wait for, on the 6th of December, which will feature obviously the NHS choir that we direct together, as well as your other choirs, and you've invited MyCool Singers down, which is great. So they'll be there for that. I think that's all that's happening, I think, when I come back. But it's like famine and feast. It's like nothing for about 5, 6 weeks or a couple of months, and then suddenly it's all systems go. Um, and I've just finished our singing holidays in Barbados. We've just released our UK ones for next year that have now also, I think I'm doing 7 next year. They've all sold out. I've got a couple of twin rooms left on one holiday in June. And I'll be releasing the Barbados dates, yeah, at some point in the next couple of weeks, maybe. So yeah,
Fantastic.
a lot happening. But it's all good now. It's all fun. I'd rather be doing this than I would be something else. That, I'm very, very fortunate, very grateful that I can do what I do and make a career from music, something I've always loved, um, and make a difference along the way. Meet great people like yourself and all the singers that I work with. It's just such a wonderful um, community of people, um, and yeah, we are very, very lucky for sure.
Yeah, we're blessed to have this community and this experience of working with music. It's astounding, and I'm always amazed by what it does for other people and for myself. Like to see how music has this amazing impact and can be really supportive, nurturing, fun, empowering, all of it, all of it.
Yeah. I mean, listen, it's as you know, it's a two-way street. It's not the one-way traffic. I get so much satisfaction from what I do, not only in the work that I do, arranging songs and then hearing them sound back so beautifully, but also just in the support and the love and yeah, the effect that the community and singers have on me personally. It's just amazing, So um, yeah,
Yeah, and I
amazing.
think we need that in a digital world, and the digital world has its amazing things it can offer, but I think we still need that experience of just being in the world in a room, sorry, being in a room together and just breathing and singing together. There's something about that visceral reality of being together and then what we can create together from really being together that is very, very powerful and profound. And I don't think you can replace that human warmth and human presence.
No,
Um,
and it's only in recent times that really people have recognized that. Like I said, when I started out, and when it's probably the same for you, back in the 90s, there weren't many choirs unless you were in a church, not really. People didn't really value music as much as they do now. So me wanting to be a singer or do music was almost kind of like, what? Unless you're going to be a pop star, you're not going to make anything. I'm going to be poor for the rest of my life. But actually, there's a whole industry from teaching, coaching, arranging, playing, editing, engineering, whatever. There's a whole massive industry there for people. So if you want to get into music, it's not as scary and it's not as, you can still make a living from it. And as you say, the effects and the positiveness of singing and music in general is now very much recognized and researched, and it does so much for your physical and mental health, and even just retaining lyrics and learning new harmonies and just the physicalness of breathing and singing and knowing your body and recognizing sounds and feelings and it's just yeah, huge
yeah,
amount of huge amount of benefit for people's well-being and
they're
physical
huge.
health.
Yeah, they're huge, aren't they? And that's one thing that I know the organization we work for, Breathe Arts, they've just had a pioneering study released this last week, isn't it, about the effects of singing for postnatal depression. And just want to, just really congratulate them on that. But that's just one of many pieces of research they've been working on. And, I know we both feel very honored to work with NHS staff there, and just wanted to give them a big shout
Yeah,
out. Thanks for including
100%.
us in that
Yeah,
project.
absolutely, absolutely. Yeah. And again, that is just like I'm saying, that wasn't done 20, 30 years ago, but now there's so much research into the positive benefits of singing, music in general, but especially singing, and how beneficial it is, well-being, physical, mental health. Um, yeah,
Yeah, and there has been a huge growth, hasn't there? I've seen in this whole realm of community singing and people coming together, and there's obviously a great need for that togetherness at this time, and that singing is emerging as this incredible, I just feel it's a form of magic really, that I feel very blessed that I can just go into this room and say, right, let's do this. And I don't have to know even what it's doing for each person, but I know it will be doing something. And then
Yeah,
if I'm lucky, I get to hear their story, and sometimes I don't, but I can see on their faces, I can see people come in looking a bit, stooped over and walk out going like this.
yeah, exactly. And that makes it all worth it, you know. I mean, you mentioned working on the voice, and you know, and I've been very lucky to do a lot of high level professional things in my career, but you can't beat the kind of community aspect and you know, watching somebody develop, you know, in terms of their voice, but also in terms of themselves. You know, I kind of liken it to coaching Roger Federer to play tennis. I mean, the guy was a legend. You know, I mean, he was better than anybody pretty much. So you just kind of given a few pointers here and there, and off he goes. You know, he probably knows more than you do. Um, but when you're actually teaching somebody almost from scratch, where they're coming in with not much experience or not much expectation, I think not necessarily always about experience, but expectation. And you say they leave going, oh my gosh, that's kind of changed my world. I'm coming back next week for sure. You know, just to do to witness that and be part of that is, yeah, for me, that's what it's all about.
Yeah, it's that incredible transformation that for me is really very magical to witness. And it's very, very humbling as well, isn't it? I often feel like, wow, this is just mind blowing. And it also says a lot about people's willingness to be brave. I really want to honor all the people that come into those rooms, because it takes courage even to just get in the room and sing and get up on the stage and sing. That even just that is can be a huge breakthrough for a person, can't it? So I just want to honor all the people that come and sing with us and trust us to do that with us, because it is for all of us. We're all on an edge of some kind, aren't we? So
Absolutely. Yeah, absolutely. And one quick story actually, the concert we did in September, at the end of the concert, I had a lady come up to me to donate to the foundation. She put like 100 quid in cash in my hand, and was visibly emotional, you know, and just basically said, you know, I've just got a few months left to live, you know, and tonight has been so good for me, you know, just being a part of the audience. She wasn't singing, she was part of the audience, and hearing the songs and how music has really helped me um, and to continue what you're doing, because it does make a difference. Um, so yeah, so that again, that was like, okay, wow, you know, that was a bit of a shock, but at the same time, I really, again, once again, brought home. But the audience also feel it, because what we're creating these singers who are getting more confident to give themselves when they sing. So the audience are really getting this honest, authentic performance, storytelling, which really affects them as well. And that ripple effect, you know, kind of grows and grows.
it's an
Uh,
amazing story.
yeah. So
And it is that connection, isn't it? It's connection, that human, authentic connection, firstly with ourselves and our voices, and then how we can bridge that out into the world. And we just never know what's going to happen, but it's magic.
exactly, and then that's in terms of my approach to teaching. That's it. It's about getting people to be their authentic selves, not trying to be somebody else. Not, you know, we can all admire the singers, we can all admire this voice and that voice, but essentially we have our voice. We've been given it. It's about making the best of that, and it's about being authentic and being honest and um, embracing our voice. And yeah, I think that's the key, to be authentic, as you say, honest in your delivery of songs, and even how people perform in a choir. You know, not everyone will be moving, and some people will just be a little bit more staid. And but yes, that's them. That's them. You know, so I think it's important that everyone feels comfortable and they're able to be themselves and authentic and express themselves. And the audience will feel it. The audience will get that for sure.
That's right. And I always just think some of the artists that are the most raw, the most raw artists, people like Amy Winehouse, for example,
Yes. Yeah.
her voice touched so many people because she was unafraid to show who she really was, totally unafraid. And that's what we all long for, that freedom ourselves to be that authentic. And it's like those really brave artists give us permission, don't they? All of us.
Yeah, but what I will say about that, you see, I mean, and at that time, roughly at that time, I was then beginning to teach, as I say, at the secondary school, which I loved, by the way. You know, I had a great time there with the kids. But it's funny then how almost voices are like fashion, you know. I
Yeah.
remember they have a load of, you know, 14-year-old girls coming in to sing in the studio with me, and they'd all sound like Amy Winehouse. I'd be like, this is not your voice, it's very easy. We, you know, these kind of iconic singers, once they come out, everyone's listening to them, we suddenly start to want to sound like them and think that's now how we should be sounding. And that's quite hard,
Yeah.
especially if you get teenagers to kind of go, you know, no, 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 be you, you know, talk to me first. Right, that is your voice. Now let's sing in the same way. Let's not trump on anything or do anything, you know. It's and we can be influenced stylistically from people. That's great. I love all that, you know. But essentially, still got to be your voice.
Absolutely. So we should follow their example, but not their try and be them. It's like,
Yeah,
you know,
yeah, kind of, yeah, exactly. Be influenced in terms of, yeah, in terms of how they deliver songs, their phrasing, in terms of, you know, placement and tone, of course, and performance dynamics and so on. Yeah, but essentially, the creating of one's voice. This is me now. I'm not kind of talking in a strange way. It's just me being me. And I think once you get able to embrace first their speaking voice often, um, and realize that singing is an extension of that, then yeah, that can often help.
yeah, because those trailblazers, they were just themselves, and that's why they stood out. So that's what we, you
And
know,
that's why people are so attracted to them, and they kind
yeah,
of, oh, I want to be like that, you know. But you have to kind of empower them to go, yeah, they're great, but you are also just as good, or you know, just as worthy, or just as whatever, you know. Um, yeah,
yeah.
definitely.
Oh gosh, well, we could talk for ages. I'm just aware there's
We could.
time constraints, but thank you so much, Mike. You know, it's
Pleasure.
amazing seeing the breadth of your work and how it's impacted on people, including myself. You know, I really feel blessed that I met you all those years ago when I wandered along to meet you in Penge in South London and came along to your studio to meet you. And since then it's just been incredible. And you've always been an incredible force of encouragement in my life and in so many others. So I'm just incredibly grateful for that. And I'm thrilled that you're bringing MCS and we're supporting the foundation at Winter Sparkle. And it's wonderful to continue the collaboration on Breathe Arts. And yeah, I know everyone
Long
can
may it
find it.
continue.
Sorry?
So long may it continue, for
Thank
sure.
you.
And listen, Winter Sparkle was amazing last year, so I'm delighted that MCS can come and be part of that as well. And yeah, it's going to be a really magical evening. So yeah, we're definitely looking forward to that. In fact, that's the last thing I'm doing this year as well. So for me, it's the culmination of my year, which is going to be wonderful.
Oh, fantastic. Thank you so much for your support and for
Pleasure.
being part of
Anytime.
it, making it special. And where can people find you? What's your website?
Well, if they want to come down, I'll be on the beach later on having a good old swim. But apart from that, they can go online. It's nice and easy. It's mycoolking.com. MyCool King. MyCoolking.com. And you'll find everything you need to know there. I should now go and update my website, really, shouldn't I? Really, but still, I mean, it's a few things probably from last year on there. But anyway, at least you'll be able to contact me and find a bit more information if you want to.
Yeah, and you're on all the socials, aren't you? It's the same
Exactly.
MyCool King,
Yeah,
isn't it?
Michael King. Yeah, yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Same.
So definitely get on Mike's mailing list and find out what he's up to at the moment and be sure to come and catch some of the singing magic with him. Anything you'd like to just leave our listeners with and watchers, maybe just a little tip for them about their voice? What would you say to people?
I would say, like I was saying earlier on, sing as you speak. That's essentially it. I mean, if nothing else, I always get people to, speak a line roughly at the pitch they need to sing it, and that will inform you where you can place your voice. Obviously, more complicated than that in terms of the actual singing, but in terms of just basic kind of layman terms of starting to know where to put your voice, we often use our voices, quite dynamically when we're speaking. We can be here sometimes and down there, and we go all over the place. When we come to sing on pitch, we kind of get a bit scared about it. But actually, you know, um, yeah, sing as you speak is my philosophy.
Fantastic. And that is definitely all about just being the person that you are as you are.
Be authentic, exactly. Be you.
Fantastic. Thank you so much for your time today, Mike.
Okay, it's been a
Absolutely.
pleasure. Yeah, and thank you for all your help and support as well over the years. Much appreciated.
Really, it's an honor. Thank you. Thanks so much.
We'll catch up soon.
We will. And thank you so much to everyone that's listened. These podcasts come out as and when that I am able to do them. But at the moment, it's wonderful always to share the wisdom of the people that I'm honored to work with and cross paths with musically, and to share just how amazing music and our voices can be in the world. So thank you so much for tuning in. Let us know what you felt. We'd love to hear from you, and we wish you wonderful adventures with your voice. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Kate. Thanks, guys.
Change the world with your voice.